always dreamed of a new beginning. Life at Pune was great, but they wanted to go beyond that. They wanted to be free. So when Aditya got the call asking if he wishes to shift in his company's Mexico branch within 3 months, and was offered a lucrative opportunity as a chief of department in architecture, they agreed almost instantly. Not just because of the perks though. The reason was something else altogether. After what happened in Aditya's village during Meera's last pregnancy, he didn't want to take any risk. He didn't want it to lose another baby. Therefore, leaving behind the busy streets of Pune became super easy for them. Mexico was the new beginning for them, and both of them wanted to shift as soon as possible. Meera, 6 months pregnant with their first child, was eager for a peaceful, nurturing environment too. That's why, instead of opting an apartment near the city center, they went for something different altogether. They found themselves a house on the outskirts of a city, nestled near the mountain ranges, where a vast, tranquil lake stretched out like a never-ending mirror under the sky. Meera fell in love with the house at first sight. It had old-world charm, built decades ago, with stone walls that had stood the test of time. The house was not only sturdy, but beautiful too, especially during night. The view of the lake from the balcony soothed her. However, in all this enchanting surrounding, something about the water unsettled her. The locals had previously warned them too about the lake when they went collecting some supplies. Now, since their house was in the middle of nowhere, they didn't have much choice than to join in the conversation. Strange disappearances, whispers of a spirit that haunted its depths, were whispered around them too, but Aditya dismissed it as superstition. The first week passed by uneventfully. Meera spent her days setting up the nursery, painting soft blue hues across the walls, imagining their son's future in this house, until one evening when she saw them. 2 identical girls stood by the lake, dressed in white, their long, jet-black hair reaching down to their waists. They looked no older than 10. Their pale faces were expressionless, their large, dark eyes staring at Meera's swollen belly. The sight sent a shiver down her spine.
"Who are you?"
she called out, stepping towards them. The girls turned in unison, as if they were one entity, their lips curling into an eerie smile.
"You shouldn't be here." "Why?"
she quietly asked.
"She doesn't like it when people take her place."
Meera frowned and asked,
"Who?"
The girls exchanged glances before pointing at the lake. A ripple was forming in the still water, as if something had just submerged beneath its surface. Then, without another word, the twins turned and ran into the woods, their laughter echoing through the trees. But there was something about their laughter which unsettled Meera. It wasn't menacing, it wasn't threatening. It sounded lonely, and from that moment on, something in Meera changed. She felt a strange pull toward the girls, an instinctive protectiveness. She wanted to know more about them, about why they were alone near such a cursed place. The next day, she ventured into the forest, calling out,
"Hello, are you there?"
The silence of the jungle was overwhelming, but after a few moments, she heard the soft rustling of leaves. The twins emerged from behind a large, twisted tree, their small hands clutching each other's tightly. Meera knelt to their level.
"Are you lost?"
The girls exchanged another glance, then shook their heads.
"Where are your parents?"
At this, their faces darkened.
"Gone,"
They replied. Meera's Meera's heart clenched. She reached out a hand hesitantly, and after a pause, one of the twins placed her small, cold fingers into Meera's palm.
Do you want to come home with me?
Meera asked softly. The other twin suddenly gasped and yanked her sister back.
No, she'll be angry.
Meera frowned.
Who will be angry?
Wind rustled through the trees. That exact moment, as if someone was with them, hearing this conversation. And the next thing they know, the once distant wailing of the lake suddenly seemed closer. The girls turned their heads in unison toward the sound, their expressions tightening.
We have to go.
One of them whispered.
She's listening. But who?
Before Meera could ask more or even finish her sentence, they darted into the jungle, vanishing between the thick trees. That night, she heard whispers again, a woman crying, soft at first, then louder, echoing through the house. Meera sat up in bed with a jolt, her breath shaky. Aditya was sound asleep beside her. Then out of nowhere, she heard someone wailing loudly, thinking about the girl's safety. The very next second, she reached for the bedside lamp, but before she could turn it on, the crying stopped. Silence stretched through the room, but the air felt thick with something unseen. Then, a loud wail erupted right outside their window. Meera gasped, clutching her belly almost instinctively. Her instincts screamed at her to run, but her body was frozen in terror. With trembling hands, she reached for Aditya, shaking him awake.
What? What's wrong?
He mumbled groggily.
Did you hear that?
She whispered,
Hear what?
almost falling to sleep.
Aditya, I think someone's crying by the window.
Aditya listened for a moment. Nothing,
Meera, you must have had a bad dream.
he assured her, pulling her into his arms.
Meera, go back to sleep.
Meera didn't argue, but deep inside, she knew this wasn't a dream, and she was right. The next morning, she found muddy footprints outside their window. Small, wet footprints, as if some children had been standing there